Hey astronauts, I'm your pilot Paul, and welcome to the Digital Galaxy Podcast. Buckle up for the 8th Warpspeed episode. The information in this episode comes from Axios, the Washington Post, and epw.senate.gov. The Senate voted 69 to 30 on Tuesday, August 10th to pass the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package. This can be seen as a major victory to President Biden and a group of senators that spent months negotiating on the agreement. The bill dedicates billions to new roads, bridges, and major projects across the U.S. But what facets of technology infrastructure will be focused on? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first one is $65 billion for broadband, $7.5 billion for electric vehicles and EV charging stations, $2.5 billion in zero emissions buses, and $2.5 billion in low emissions buses. The two biggest tech related items, of course, are the investment in broadband and for the EV vehicles charging stations. China and Europe are currently ahead of the US market when it comes to EV car sales. According to the Washington Post, quote, in the European Union, car makers are reacting to the prospect of stiff fines if they don't cut the average carbon emissions per kilometer of the vehicles they sell by 50% from 2021 through 2030, end quote. China has used a credit system to encourage sales of EV cars. They have also made it very expensive to getting parking permits for those with traditional engine cars. As for the expansion of broadband in this country, an upgrade is certainly needed. We've seen programs like the emergency broadband benefit that allowed citizens of a certain income level to qualify for cheaper internet access. This investment in broadband infrastructure has the capability to give even more access to higher speeds to all U.S. citizens. According to Axios, quote, the process will face its own series of amendments and procedural hurdles, but it's expected to pass as early as end of the week, end quote. We haven't seen any updates yet, but we will definitely keep you posted on that. So that's going to wrap up our Warpspeed episode for today. Sorry about that. Thanks for coming along. Please stick around to hear a message from our sponsor, Anchor.fm. Also, don't forget to follow our channels on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. You can also find this episode in a written form on our website, digitalgalaxypodcast.com. This episode was created by Claro, a social media app where you are in charge of your data and community. Check it out at claro.app. Thanks for coming along on the journey, and we'll see you in the next one. Digital Galaxy Podcast runs on Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First of all, it's free. Second, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.